Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to the Wellness Tree Podcast. I'm your host, Alexander Cummings. Once again, I'd like to congratulate you all for the work that you've been putting in thus far. I'm loving the reactions that I'm getting on the videos. And I would like to congratulate you all on getting this far. Like I said in the last video, we're halfway through the book. We're working our way towards the end of the book, and I'm excited for what today's chapter has to entail. Last week we talked about dealing with desert seasons. We talked about dealing with addictions and different things like that. I believe this episode is going to talk more in a different direction, but kind of dealing with the same thing when we're talking about exhaustion, when we're talking about having our energy at a high level, right? Chapter 7 deals with the circadian rhythm, right? We're talking about sleep, the power of rest and sleep. So we're gonna start this off with this part out of the chapter that I had put in there. Did you know that rest is the foundation of how our bodies function 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Right? I want you to think about that. Rest is the foundation of how our bodies function 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Listen, when you think about a house, right? All houses, homes, buildings, the most important part of those buildings and those structures is the foundation, right? The foundation is very important. The frame of the house, the structure of the house, all of that stuff stems from the foundation of that home, right? So if we got a cracked foundation in the home, then we're going to have a lot of expensive issues as it pertains to dealing with a home because the foundation is cracked. The foundation is having a lot of issues, and it's the same thing with our bodies, right? If we look at our bodies in the concept of a house, of a home, what is the foundation, right? What is the foundation of our energy? What is the foundation of keeping ourselves at a high level mentally, right? Well, I love it because in this book, and I'm gonna talk about another research from the book called The Science of Sleep. This woman, she explains that the foundation of our wellness, the foundation of our mental health, is our sleep, is our ability to rest, right? So to kind of move forward, not only is sleep the foundation, but sleep also have a mind of its own. The circadian rhythm is a natural sleep wake cycle your body repeats 24 hours a day. Because of the ignorance of this cycle, people experience negative wellness problems, right? Because of the ignorance of the circadian rhythm, the sleep cycle that we have or that we go by on a day to day basis. And what I mean by the ignorance of that is our ability as people to ignore that, right? Sometimes we don't think that sleep is as important as it is, right? I can speak for myself. Sometimes when I'm going through life and um, I get to having goals and dreams and visions and things that I want to accomplish. Sometimes I'm up all night trying to accomplish those dreams. I'm, going throughout the day, handling different responsibilities, being a father, going to work, uh, trying to keep up a healthy workout plan, trying to eat healthy. A lot of times, us thinking about those things or me thinking about those things cause me to lose track of time, and I end up going to sleep night in and day out. Right, I end up going to sleep very late, day in and day out, and I'm not keeping a very consistent time frame as far as it pertains to me going to sleep on a day-to-day basis, right? And what ends up happening, I'm getting 2 hours of sleep, 3 hours of sleep, losing a lot of sleep, right? So what this woman talks about is in her book, The Science of Sleep, is that affects our foundation as people, right? When we're not getting the amount of sleep that we need to get, it starts to bother us mentally. It starts to bother, how we show up, right? In this book, I said I learned this lesson the hard way. And this was one of the key factors that landed me in the psych ward. When your body is sleep deprived, it can lead to massive cognitive problems. Author, sleep expert Heather Miss Smith, I'm gonna call her Mrs. Smith, Heather Darthwell Smith, explains in her book, The Science of Sleep, that chronic sleep deprivation leads to health issues. In addition, it creates decision making problems, limits one's ability to learn, and produce a low capacity to cope with depression. Right. So the first thing that this woman talks about, she said that chronic sleep deprivation leads to health issues. In addition, it creates decision making problems. Right. If we think about our life, one of the most powerful things that we can do as people, it ultimately comes down to our ability to make good decisions. Right. When we're talking about keeping our mind in a steady place, keeping our mental health at a healthy place, it's all coming down to the decisions that we're making, right? If we want to keep our body healthy and we want to keep our body functioning properly, it's going to come down to the decision. The decision to do what? The decision to eat healthy, the decision to work out on a consistent basis, the decision to make sure that we are taking in good, what I want to say, we are taking in good information. And what I mean by that, we are allowing our minds and we're allowing our eyes to watch healthy things, listening to good healthy things. That's what I wanted to get to. We are we're being active about that. We're choosing what we're listening to, what we are allowing into our headspace, right? All those things come down to our ability to make good decisions concerning the atmosphere of our life. And sleep deprivation takes away from that. When we are a person that lacks sleep, we start to lack the ability to make good decisions. I thought that was amazing. Then it says, also, sleep deprivation limits one's ability to learn, right? Learning is important. In order for us to go to the next level, we have to be open and willing to learn, right? We have to be able to look at information, learn information, and apply that information, right? But when we haven't been getting the amount of sleep that we need to get, we're not open to learn. We're not open to learning. We're not open to learning new information. As a matter of fact, we don't have the energy to learn it. We don't want to put the time in to start to learn different things, right? That starts to affect us. And then not only that, sleep deprivation produce low capacity to cope with depression, which also dealt with what we were dealing with last week when we was talking about the courage to cope, having the ability to cope properly when we're in low seasons, when we're in desert seasons. So sleep deprivation, we're learning that us having that problem also ties into our ability to be able to cope with those low seasons and to cope with those problems that we're dealing with, to be able to move past those obstacles to get to a place of stability and wellness, right? And coping in a healthy way, coping from a healthy place and not from a negative place. So using our skills to cope positively, not negatively, right? Sleep deprivation deals with all of that, right? So another part is these areas are key in your path to productivity and success. How one can be highly energized and fully ready to take on the journey of true success while being conquered. How can one be energized and fully ready to take on the full journey of success while being conquered by a lack of sleep day in and day out, right? So how can we be able to go to the next level? How can we be able to keep ourselves in a mental stable place? How can we be able to keep ourselves out of a psychiatric hospital if we're not prioritizing our sleep? Right. So the next thing is sleep must be a priority in your life. Right. So we have to learn to prioritize sleep. We have to learn to be disciplined enough to set up parameters around our life to make sure we are going to bed on time. We are getting ourselves in the bed and we're taking advantage of the ability to add sleep to our life so that we could have the advantage on a day in and day out basis. I can speak for myself. The kind of work that I do on a day-to-day basis, the type of work that I'm involved in, I have to be on a schedule, right? I have to make sure I put myself on a schedule. I have to make sure that I get that rest. Rest is most important because the kind of work I do, I'm responsible for the lives of people, right? So if I'm out there driving and I haven't gotten enough sleep, then I can cause an accident and people could get hurt. So I have to make sure that I'm getting the sleep that I need to get, right? So same thing for you. If you're a person you're looking to growing your stability, growing your wellness, I think it'll be pivotal. I think it'll be a great thing for you to start to take sleep serious, right? To start to take your ability to rest serious, right? You experience a major difference. Like it feels good in the morning when you're getting up to uh 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and you're well rested, right? You go about your day different. You start to attack your day from a different perspective because you've gotten the rest, right? Your mind is in the right place. You're making the right decision. You wake up early, you got the rest. Okay, let me eat something healthy. Let me drink a smoothie. Let me drink a banana. Let me eat a banana or something like that. And then you go on about your day and you're ready to take on not only the adversity of the day, but also you're ready to use that day to cultivate your mind and give you new ideas, so on and so forth, right? But if we're spending every day not getting sleep, always getting 1 or 2 hours of sleep and different things like that, that stuff is playing a huge role into our mental health, right? That those things are us not getting that rest is playing a huge role in us being able to keep our mind at a good place. So I just want to emphasize that on this video, right? And we're not going to be very long today, but I really want to emphasize that. Take a step back and think about how many hours of sleep are you getting on a day-to-day basis. Can you do better with sleep, right? Can you do better with getting rest, right? Also, the young lady, she revealed in her book, she said that for us to be at a healthy level, we should be getting at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep, no less than 6 hours of sleep per night, right? So we should be getting 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So what this means is, here's the challenge. What this means is we got to be a bit more disciplined when it comes to setting guidelines and parameters around our life so that we can get this rest that we need to get, right? So that means we got to put the phone down. We got to cut the TV off. We got to, do what we need to do to help the wife to get the kids down, or, you know, so on and so forth. But putting energy and effort and being intentional about doing what you need to do to make sure that you can give yourself at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night, right? I know you got things you want to accomplish, right? I know you got places you want to go and you feel like you need to be up all night studying this stuff and, really losing control of your life because you're trying to reach that goal, right? But I guarantee you, I can assure you that if you add this sleep component into the equation, then you will start to see better results. Your mind works better when it's at rest, when it's at peace, right? This is an obvious thing, right? If you really tried it and you experienced it, I'm sure you would be able to tell the difference. You will definitely be able to tell the difference between you going through a day and you just tired and you just trying to make it back home to the bed versus you going through a day and you fully energized and you're looking at the day like, wow, it's not enough time in a day for the things I'm trying to do, for the things I'm trying to accomplish. So that's the big thing about the episode this week, right? I want you to think about sleep. I want you to start to prioritize sleep. Like we talked about at the beginning, sleep is the foundation of mental wellness. Sleep, your ability to get rest, your ability to allow your body to recuperate and gain its energy back, right? It's a good thing. It's a powerful thing that you can do. So we want to put emphasis on that, right? We want to make sure our foundation is strong on a day-to-day basis by making sure that we do everything we need to do to get a good amount of hours of sleep. Listen, I promise you, if you do those things, you will start to see a difference within how you're showing up mentally, right? You will start to see yourself have a lot more energy. You'll start to make better decisions, right? You'll start to be able to have that energy to be able to cope with different problems and deal with depression more. A lot of us struggle with depression because we're not getting enough sleep. But if we get that sleep and we implement that, then we'll be more able and more strong enough to start to deal with depression and overcome anxiety and different things like that. Right. So listen, go to bed, man. Get that sleep, get that rest. All right. Once again, I like to thank you all for showing up to the episode this week. Next week, we're going to get into chapter 9. And we're going to talk about some more basic things that deal with mental wellness. But in the mean in between time, stay healthy, stay focused, stay disciplined, and we're going to see y'all next week. All right. Peace.